So we need the weekly candle close to be above.
Today we have on our channel the one and unique Chris from Crypto.
And what we can expect for Bitcoin right now in the immediate short term and in the mid run.
On his channel he speaks about technical analysis, on-chain data, and that's what we are going to do and discuss with him on this video about his price prediction for Bitcoin for the next bull run. So stick with me in this video. I think it will be very interesting.
I have a very clear answer to that. And not only to that, but also to whether we are entering a bull market and also to whether we are going to break 40,000 soon.
And before beginning, I want to know your thoughts right now. If you are bearish, bullish, if you think Bitcoin will skyrocket before the halving or after, I want to have your thoughts and you can drop it just below in the comment section. And he's gonna share his price prediction for the next bull run. I think it's the video to know and to see and to hear what will happen in the following weeks and months. Hi Chris, how are you? I'm so excited to have you on my channel, and today you're gonna share to us some technical analysis and on-chain data you have. So welcome to my channel, and my first question is, what do you think about the market right now? What are your feelings for the following weeks and months? Please share to us and to my audience.
Yeah, first of all, thank you very much for having me on your channel. It's a big honor. I checked your channel. It looks like you're probably one of the biggest ones in France. I met you in Dubai, I think, at some Binance event. It was awesome. Just saw recently a photo popping up of you and me. So it's great to be on this channel. And I think I have never spoken to a French audience. And I don't know why, because I love Moulefried. I like France a lot. I was there a few times, so it's beautiful to be here. Big, big pleasure. Now, of course, let's talk about the market. And man, I'm pumped, I have to say. The market, what is happening right now, no matter if we go down a little bit more or something, doesn't matter. What happened in the last few days was exactly what I've been waiting for multiple months. 32,000, the level which we broke, was the single most important level maybe in the history of Bitcoin in terms of the strength of the resistance we had there, the amount of volume which was traded there, the strength of the bears which were defending that price. We finally broke that price, and I'm extremely happy about that because, of course, I knew eventually it will have to happen, but that it happened now, finally. And in my opinion, but we will talk about that more. We will talk about my price targets, my trades, my expectations, and everything. I want to say one thing already. In accordance to my TA, my expectations, this was the switch from a bear market, transitionary market, over into a bull market. And I think that's great news. That's worth celebrating.
So you've got some data to share to us. Shall we start with the first screen you have?
Yeah, let me share the screen. And I have some really interesting stuff to share here. I'm quickly going over. And I want to start with, just let me know quickly if you can see everything. Perfect. So we are starting here on the technical analysis, the very, very traditional charts, which probably, I know you're not talking so much about trading, but most of your viewers have seen something like that. I will make it very easy. But after that, I want to go into something which probably no one has seen so far, and into a chart which has nothing to do with TA, but which perfectly predicts whether this was the bottom, whether we are right now going into a bull market, and what we can expect for Bitcoin right now in the immediate short term and in the mid run. I will talk about that later. First of all, I want you to give a quick overview where we are in the market. And what you can see here is the monthly candles for Bitcoin. Every single candlestick here, every candlestick you see represents 1 month for Bitcoin. And this chart is actually my favorite chart I could talk about when it comes to Bitcoin. That is the all-time historical chart for Bitcoin, which shows us the last basically 12, 13 years of price action. And what you can see here is basically that history doesn't repeat, but it rhymes. So that means we have a lot of similarities. And these similarities can help us to predict the Bitcoin price. And I want to break it down as easy as possible. Easy wins the game, in my opinion, when it comes to TA. No need for very, very difficult, complicated indicators which many people are using at all. What you can see here, we have resistance, the top line, and we have support. And every single bull market ends once we are hitting resistance on this curved line. Of course, this line didn't exist back in the days, but at least after 3 touch points, we could continue to draw it. And you can see in the last bull market perfectly, we hit the top again, and Bitcoin respected this resistance. Now you can see all bear markets are also bottoming out by touching this support line. And the moment Bitcoin was actually breaking this resistance here, this downward sloping resistance, was the moment Bitcoin entered the first stage, the early stage of either the transitionary market or the bull market. That was actually the level 17,500. I don't know who is following me over on Twitter or on YouTube. That was the moment on 17,500 where I entered my trade, which is now in 3.1, approximately 3.1 million US dollars in position size and 1.8 million US dollars in profit. I'm showing this trade on a daily basis. I'm giving updates about that. What I was saying though, and here I want to zoom in a little bit more so people can understand not only the importance of what was happening here recently, no, also to understand what is going to happen next. So first of all, this is the last cycle and the current cycle. Now we are on the weekly candles, which is giving us a little bit of a more narrow time frame, the last 2-3 years you are seeing here right now on the screen. So in the last bull market, which was basically here, this is the end phase of the ending phase of the last bull market. We had the levels of 30 to 32,000, basically the level where Elon Musk started tweeting about Bitcoin a lot. We had it acting as a support for Bitcoin. Multiple weekly touch points for Bitcoin, confirming this very strong support for Bitcoin over the matter of 1.5 years. This very strong support eventually broke in the bear market and became very strong resistance. This is a very important rule in trading. Strong support becomes new resistance over weeks, actually multiple months. And I was saying for a very long time, even though I entered the trade right here at 17.5, I am not popping any champagne bottles until we are not breaking this level. However, when we are breaking 32,000, that is, in accordance to my TA, the beginning of the Bitcoin bull market. Now we broke this level finally, and we have a lot of reasons to be bullish. No matter what happens the next few days, maybe we go down, we retest the 32,000 US dollar levels. All of that is possible. What I'm talking about is breaking this resistance, switches, and let me quickly go back here actually into the phase mode. It switches a little bit the sentiment. Before we were in a bear market, transitionary market, so bullish news were not really as much taken into consideration as they should. Every bearish news was flipping Bitcoin into a downtrend. Now the sentiment is switching. Now the bears were beaten, defending the level of 32,000. Bulls were succeeding. Now the bulls are in control. When we are having bullish news coming, they are going to be, if anything, exaggerated and leading to higher pumps than they should. Bearish news are going to be absorbed. It's the reverse thing in a bull market. Now we are going to have quite shallow retracements, whereas in a bear market, the retracements are quite severe. In a bull market, we have 10%, 12%, people freaking out, weekends washed out, and then we are going up again. I think this sentiment has switched, and I think the bull market is right now turned on. This is everything I'm having to say about the technical chart. We will talk about price predictions, of course, as well. I want to talk about these 2 secret charts, which I think no one has seen. But first of all, I want to know if you have any other questions before we are continuing here on that content.
Yeah, super interesting what you're sharing to us, and thank you for that. And I see that maybe this week candle is very important, and we have to be above $32,000 to be in this bullish trend. That's it. So this week is pretty decisive, no?
Very good point. Very, very good point, actually. And I almost missed out on saying that. Let me quickly answer your question before I'm going into the next screens. And I really have to thank you for mentioning the weekly candle, because this is something I mentioned before. I just missed out on mentioning it here. of course, we are looking at the weekly chart. So we need the weekly candle close to be above.
I'm interrupting this video just to ask you to like and share and subscribe to my YouTube channel because it's very important for the algorithm. So thank you. Let's go back.
If now suddenly on Friday still negative news about the BlackRock ETF are coming out, which I think it's unlikely, but it's possible, we can get a closure below this. And if we are getting closure below, we did not confirm the break of this resistance. But the week is pretty old already. We just have to wait another, at the time of recording, 3 hours and 3 days and 8 hours. Probably at the time of publishing that video, it's going to be less. We have to wait for the Sunday to close. And yes, if we are then closing Sunday, the weekly candle above 32, that is, I would say, the last confirmation for this. So very good that you are mentioning that. And yes, the answer is yes, very correct. The weekly candle is extremely important to close above. If we are closing somewhere around these levels, even at 32,500, that will be completely enough. 34,000 even better. Yes, that is very, very important. Now I wanted to talk about something else, because many people are asking me, Chris, are you sure we hit bottom? I know that many people were waiting for prices of 20,000, or at least now are expecting that Bitcoin is going to maybe another, like, I don't know, retest down to the 20,000 US dollar price levels, or I don't know, some bears are still there who are screaming 10,000. Well, I have a very clear answer to that. And not only to that, but also to whether we are entering a bull market, and also to whether we are going to break 40,000 soon. Let me talk about that. So first of all, on this chart here, you can see the realized hodl ratio. And this is very important to understand. It's a little bit less important than the next chart, but please bear with me. This one is a very important introduction. So what you can see here is the black line is representing the Bitcoin price. Obviously, everyone is probably familiar with this pattern. The orange chart is representing the R hodl ratio. So the realized hodl ratio, it is actually showing us how many Bitcoin are being held within old hands, within the smart money and wallet addresses, which are older than a year. Whereas whenever we are going higher into this maximum new hand stage, this is the amount of Bitcoin, where this is when Bitcoin is being held by the majority of short hands, like new hands, new money, new wallet addresses being opened and new money entering that space. What you can see, interestingly enough, every single time we are hitting these all-time highs on Bitcoin, the new hand, the maximum new hands is reached. And that means that this one doesn't help you to time the Bitcoin top. You can see that in the example of the last time. But it certainly helps you to predict the Bitcoin bottom. Because what you can see when we are hitting an all-time high, of course, we have much more new hands, much more dump money, I have to say. And that's not demeaning. That's just the official term, being in the market. However, in the bear market bottoms, and that's what you can see here. For example, when Bitcoin was hitting 15,500 after this FTX crash, then you can see we have the maximum old hands. And that's now interesting, because what that means is that we have the vast majority of market participants holding Bitcoin, or let me phrase it differently, the vast majority of Bitcoin being held in wallet addresses which are characterized to be old hands, wallet addresses older than a year. And that, dear ladies and gentlemen, is the smart money being in control. So when the price goes higher, naturally, the smart money loses control towards the new money, the dump money. And that is why, the reason for that is because the old money is basically starting to dump on the new money. And that happens every single time. We have this resistance zone, which whenever we are breaking it, it's bull market on. And here you can see on the very right-hand side, we are breaking it right now. This chart is actually a week old, or maybe 4 or 5 days old. So it's just from the break. If I were to pull up the new chart here, you can see that we are already quite above. That means we are entering now the phase where the shift of ownership of Bitcoin is switching from smart money, from the old hands, to the new hands. And now I want to talk about this chart, because that directly follows the other one in terms of logic. What you can see here, the gray line is again the Bitcoin price, the blue line is the long-term holder supply, and the orange line is the short-term holder supply. What you can see here is an inverse correlation. So again, whenever we are low with the Bitcoin price, close to bear market bottoms, you can see that the long-term holder supply actually reached its local top. Whenever we are at these bear market bottoms, at the time the long-term holder supply reaches the local top, which is represented by these green buttons here. You can see 66.8%, 67%. That is when we can see an inverse correlation of the short-term holder supply actually reaching a local bottom. Once again, that means we have a switch from dump money, that is the short-term holder supply, to smart money, that's the long-term holder supply. Similar story, but what's interesting about that chart is, and here I want to drive the attention of all the viewers to the right-hand side of the chart. This is interesting because this chart is a week out. It's just from before the breakout, before Bitcoin broke 27, 30,000, 32,000. What you can see, the long-term holder supply reached a new record, all-time high, and that's the supply of the network. We are talking in relative terms, not in absolute terms. That wouldn't be that surprising. In relative terms, we have a new all-time high. That means never in the history of Bitcoin that many long-term holders were holding Bitcoin. In other words, never in the history of Bitcoin as much percentage supply of Bitcoin was held by smart money. And at the same time, we have a new all-time low for the short-term holder supply, for the dump money, which means, translated, never ever in the history of Bitcoin as little supply of Bitcoin was held by dump money. Never ever in the history of Bitcoin as little supply of Bitcoin was held by short-term holders. And that is a quite surprising, but also, let me quickly go back here, a quite surprising, but also a quite sad learning we are seeing here right now, because just before the most important break for Bitcoin of 32,000, just before we swap from bear market transitionary phase into a bull market, we basically had all the dump money, once again, sorry that I'm saying that, having sold all their Bitcoin to the smart money. The smart money was one last time buying all the Bitcoin from the weak hands. And what you can see here right now is, of course, that was the exact moment they should not have been doing that. That was the exact moment before Bitcoin broke into this bull market. And that's an important learning. I mean, everyone who is watching this video right now, everyone who is watching your video throughout the last 12, 16 months is part of the smart money. That's good news. Everyone watching this video right now is part of the smart money and is most likely, if they have a mid and long-term outlook for Bitcoin, going to profit from this Bitcoin bull market. But unfortunately, we can see the majority usually loses, and it's the minority which makes the gains. And that is quite an interesting fact looking at the Bitcoin price. And furthermore, an approval for me that we didn't only hit bottom, but that we are actually transitioning now into a bull market.
Wow, those charts are just amazing for me, and I think my audience will thank you very much for all those charts, which are very precious. And I have to ask you a question. Even though you are in a bullish mode, and we understand, I think everybody right now is like pretty bullish because we break the 32,000, as you said. What are your expectations about the next halving, which is like scheduled for April, May, or whatever? Because it depends of the amount of blocks mined on Bitcoin. But do you think we can have a parabolic bull run before the halving, after the halving, or before and after? What are your thoughts about it? And before finishing this video, I want to have your thoughts. Who do you want me to invite in my next video, in the next interview? Tell me in the comments below who you want me to invite in my next video to have technical analysis like this one, or on-chain data, or just to discuss. Put a name, please, in the comment.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I have to drop out soon, but I definitely want to answer this question and maybe give some kind of price prediction as well. As you said, halving coming approximately in April, and I do expect furthermore upwards movement from here. We are now at the time of recording at 34,000. Again, we can retest the previous resistance, which is now turning into support. Would be very healthy if we have another dip down. Overall, I am expecting at least 40,000, 45,000 US dollars before the halving, at least that, even in the short term maybe, and then another retracement, sideways movement. It's not gonna go to 100,000 before the halving. I'm very, very certain about that. Not 100%, but very certain about that. And nevertheless, I think we are going to reach higher price targets before the halving, but the real bull run is probably going to start maybe a little bit in the front run of the halving, but then afterwards, after the halving, and I think towards the end of the year 2024, we are really going to see a big push, potentially breaking through the previous all-time high, potentially testing the 100,000, and then I think the bull market is going to end in 2025 with a price target I have, and that's my most conservative price target. I could quote 120 to 150,000 US dollars. Potentially even higher, but of course, I'm a little bit afraid of getting too bullish here, of getting the people too excited. So I want to stick for now with my conservative price prediction of 120 to 150,000 US dollars in 2025.
Very nice, very nice. Thank you for your price prediction. I think the same. I didn't mention to my audience. I think 120 will be the next all-time high but it's like conservative. If we go higher, and I think it can be higher with all this ETF thing, the dumb money coming in, it can be crazy, it can be parabolic. So we are pretty on the same side together, so that's cool. And thank you very much, Chris, for your time. Thank you for sharing all your data. It was very interesting. I hope to have you on my channel back again in a few weeks, in a few months, to share the evolution of Bitcoin. And I will drop all your links, Twitter, YouTube channel links. Please follow Chris on his channel, on his Twitter account. He speaks about trading, he speaks about analysis on Bitcoin, which are very interesting. And those ones were very precious. So thank you for your time. Thank you for your data. And I wish you the best for the following months, and the best bull run we can hope for.
I wish you also all the best. And yeah, if the people want, leave some feedback down below. I would love to go in. I can press translate. Even if you leave it in French, I can read these comments. And of course, if there's positive feedback, I'm happy to come back to your channel whenever you want. And yeah, with that, thanks for watching. Thanks everyone for listening. And it was a pleasure to be on your beautiful channel, talk to your beautiful audience. We will see each other soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Chris.